Hey guys, Michael Ketchen here with another episode of the Michael Ketchen Show. You know this guy by now, no intro. Zander Kempf is back, my twin flame. We're joined by one of my newest, most favorite people on the planet, Micheal Main Street Miller. How the fuck you doing?
I'm so good, man. I'm stoked to be here.
Just had a couple of amazing, epic days in Montana. First time out here.
Epic is the understatement of the century.
You almost wrestled a bear. That's a true story. That is not make-believe. We had a bear down by the river, and Zander was calm, and some of the other guys that are out here with us were calm, but Mike went right into the darkness, which he had a plan. I don't know what it was, but follow that guy into battle, I guess.
Yep.
Were you ready for that? And then you were like calm. You're like, I'm just going to put some more wood by the fire.
Yeah, you literally were stoking.
I was getting us a flame.
You were ready to go. You get the flame. Twin flames. You can't beat it. Guys, we have so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you both like a 30-second recap, what you're working on, what's cooking, and then we're going to get into the market and investing and all that. But I want to kind of anchor so the people know what you got going on. So Mike, they haven't met you before. Give us 30, 60-second snapshot of what you got cooking, what you do kind of as an investor.
Yeah, so the short synopsis is like I'm actually fairly new to the space. Like I've been in buying since 2008, but I've only been full-time for about 4 years. I come from a banking background. And I've been buying single and small multi, value add, burring, flipping a little bit, but mostly burring. I'm in 3 or 4 different markets and do it mostly with creative structures, private capital.
I love that. Zander, quick recap.
Yeah, we're doing RV and glamping resorts near national parks and other major destinations. So we're buying hot springs, Airstream trailers, log cabins in the woods. We're putting in health and wellness amenities, and we're bundling a portfolio of these properties together to provide long-term cash flow and potentially sell the whole portfolio at a premium.
Absolutely beautiful. And I mean, Zander, you literally just closed the deal the first day we were out here. So yeah. I got 10% of it just for doing it in Montana.
Wow.
I took that over.
Is that how that works?
So I can go in a lot of different directions on this, but one thing I'm going to touch on first, I think it's important for what we all do. And I think it's, a lot of guys talk about it. I think everyone in this group is about it. We're doing it. This is a mastermind. We all paid money to hang out, basically, right? And I think people go, wow, is it coaching? Is it this? And what always blows my mind is, I mean, this event wasn't crazy. I think this event was like $8,500 or whatever it was. And we had some amazing, epic experiences, but the quality of the conversation, I already know, I was talking to my number one in my company today, I'm gonna 20, 30, 40X operations and everything in culture after a weekend like this. I mean, what do you guys think about coaching and masterminds in general? What kind of value that provides?
That's been the biggest shift to me that I've ever experienced. I mean, it's probably a year and a half ago that I started maybe 2 years ago now, that I really started investing in myself, betting on myself.
Bet on yourself. I mean, on brand. I mean, who doesn't love this guy? What are we doing here?
And having a whole different, couple different masterminds, different conferences, different networking groups, coaching for myself. And it's just been this massive monumental shift. So every time we get back around this group of people, it just resets your thinking of, if you're here aiming for here, but you get around a bunch of people that are already 2 steps higher and aiming for above.
Much higher, yeah.
Your problems no longer feel difficult, and you get to learn of what the next steps look like, so you have a more clear path of where you need to go, and maybe you can leapfrog a few steps too.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of love the pay to play sometimes. That makes sense. What about you, Mike? What do you want to echo on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we all share the same commonality. I mean, I think the biggest, it's become cliche because social media gurus are like, invest in yourself, bet on, but like.
A lot of those guys are quiet nowadays for some reason.
Yeah,
I wonder what's
strange.
going on.
Well, because I think what it's created is it's created this dilution or this watering down effect that we don't believe that if we actually pay to get into the room that it's going to provide me value, because a lot of people have paid for stuff that didn't provide them value. But when you get into the right room, like everything changes. And my very first year in real estate, I need to get in the room with people that are doing this. Like I would not be here without these types of events. And I always walk away from them and people are like, well, did you, I think this one, like you said, it's like $8,500. Well, did you make, what's the ROI? Like, are you going to, what they're trying to say is like, are you going to get $8,500 back out of it? Well, of course not. I'm going to get 8.5 million in the next 12 months because it's all about what Zander just said. It's like, I'm in the room with guys who are seeing things that I just couldn't see without them. And that's the value. So I keep doing it. I'll continue to do it. I hope that I can spend more money on stuff like this, not less.
Well, and to give it real, I was talking about one mastermind that when I joined that group a couple of years ago, I think we were right around like 400 units and 100 million in property. And in the last 60 days, I think I've closed like 458 units and 60 million in property.
Yeah.
And it's like, when I started in that group, I'm like, oh my God, like that took such a monumental to get there. But I was in rooms, I was in fish bowls that were too small and too tight. And then you hit it the nail on the head perfect. It's like you're looking at guys that are operating up here and working on problems that have multiple zeros behind them, but also intentionally building their life and they're good people. And suddenly you're like, well, this really isn't a problem. And this, like, I'm gonna give you a shout out. Like, I already called Adam. And Adam's my number one in the company, so that makes sense for context. I do that all the time. I'll be like, hey, my buddy Zander, and they're like, who the fuck is Zander? Like, I do that. But what I did was Zander challenged me, and I was like, hey, we got to prepare for this. I'm going to give you this week to prepare. But when I get back, so probably like second week of August, I'm going to take 30 days, and we're just going to solve the raising capital question. I hate raising capital. It's the thing I fucking despise. We have a framework we're going to go back to, and I'm like, for 30 days, nothing else exists. And I know myself, and doing that, it's going to be a tsunami of action. So the way I'm framing that is I'm like, okay, so say my $20 million target is my target. Well, that 20 million gets me 100 million in property. So one conversation over a couple of days with that framework and 30 days of action and execution can lead to massive explosion. But if you're not showing up in that headspace, you're not ready for it, you're not going to receive it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
No, it took me years to figure that out, of that exact same problem, the capital raising, because it's, you grow up in real estate and you learn how to do deals, and you learn how to find, source deals, find opportunity, find value, create it. That skill set I have down, and I got to the point where I was doing that faster than I had the ability to fund.
Yep.
And was able to see and take down larger deals, or attempt to take down larger deals. But then it's like, all right, cool, here's this big project, but I don't have the system and structure in place to raise the equity for it.
Yep.
So I had to do a hard stop, and I did this about 1.5 years ago, of just, all right, like, it was the last thing I ever wanted to do because I wanted to go do deals, but I did a hard cut. I stopped looking at deals, and I put all of my effort into building a capital raising system. And now that we've done it, it was a long, windy path of trying different things and figuring out, but now we figured it out. Now we're consistently raising capital because we built a whole team and we figured out a strategy that works. And now that's a monumental shift and a huge value that we can run with forever, and we'll continue to fund all of our future deals.
Yeah, see, for me, it's like it's like I'm having like the opposite, and it's literally just getting into the room. Mike we were in the car yesterday, and like we've been talking about that, because I immediately started raising capital when I got into real estate. I'm like, I saw it, I got it, but I come from, my background is bank, right? I was a VP Bank of America for the majority of my adult life. I worked in commercial bank, I worked in all these things. And so I had this lens of how banking worked that like, and again, I'm the bank guy. So like nobody can tell me how banks work. Like I know how banks work, but it never even occurred. So I went and, for context, like I just was in this headspace that what I was doing, I couldn't bank traditionally because I knew Bank of America well. So all the big guys were never going to touch the type of stuff I was doing. So I went capital raising, I went, to these alternative products. And in one conversation, you're like, yeah, well, then why aren't you just talking to the local bank? And I'm like, well, they're not going to do this. And you're like, what are you talking about? They're not going to do like, and I'm like, and honestly, like if I'm being real, like I had a barrier. Like I was like, this guy, listen, you're a smart guy. You've done a lot of cool stuff. I'm a freaking banker. Like don't talk to me about banks, know? And then like in the course of being open to it, I'm like, oh, there is a varying degree of bank operations, underwriting processes. Like we're talking about apples and oranges. Like, and it totally, and it's like one conversation will change. Like I may never raise capital. Well, I'll raise capital, but like I will not raise capital the way that I'm raising capital ever again, because I'm going to turn all of this private money into institutional money, which is going to free up that capital to do so much more.
100%. And I guess what I would say to all of us, because we all struggle with this, it's like, what is the truth that you're running from costing you by staying in the lie?
Yeah. Well, you don't even know it's a lie.
I bet deep down you did. I bet limiting beliefs come from a place of, I know what I know, and it's comfortable to know it, and I just want to accept it. But there's a curiosity inside all of us, and I think sometimes you just need exposure around it to be like, maybe that is a limiting belief. right? Because if you shut it down, if you come from the standpoint of like what you just said, and where I'll give a guy like you credit, and that goes back to the mastermind, this whole experience, you came here with the mindset, you came here with the framework ready to receive.
Yeah.
So if you showed up and you weren't ready to receive, then you're absolutely right. Banking will not work on your deals. You're absolutely right, because that is a lie you're telling yourself, so that's your reality.
Yeah.
So in that moment, that's your truth. But what is the real truth costing you?
Oh, no doubt.
And I think it's going to have some explosion. And I constantly wrestle with that. It's like Zander said what I needed to hear. He's like, what is this costing you? And I thought about it, I was like, it's actually costing me, because right now I have deal flow. I mean, we are back, and that's what would be a great segue, but and I hate saying 08 because it's not 08, but this is the multifamily time right now. I don't know if it's going to last for 6 months, 12 months. I'm a guy, and I'll get you guys' opinion on this. I think we have about another, and it could be completely wrong, I think we have another, maybe a year, best case, of everything being on sale. Because what we're seeing now is that there's distress going out, everything that kind of popped that was kind of tied to floating debt that was really cheap. But you've got President Trump putting a lot of pressure on whoever the incoming Fed chair is going to be. Banks are, now, if you guys aren't studying this, you need to be studying this, right? Everything in real estate is tied to debt. If someone tells you differently, they're either ignorant or lying to you. If we have, I mean, I think it's JP Morgan Chase just updated their 26th thesis, 7 rate cuts. So now we have a country that has massive pent up supply and demand issues. And if rates start to drop again, what do we think is going to happen to prices? Mm-hmm. So this massive economic crash that we're all waiting for, I think we're in it. So I'm buying like crazy. So I had to get over that limited belief. What are you guys seeing market-wise? What are maybe some bold predictions you got going forward? Mike, I'll start with you.
So it's interesting because I'm on board, and I think also too it's separating the understanding of like single family and multifamily, right? Because they're two different economic environments.
100%.
I am actually, for the first time ever, a little bit more nervous about single family than I've ever been.
Yep.
Because I was under the same operational belief. I mean, we got like 1.4 million houses on the market. We need 2.5 to be normal. 4.5 was 08. So like this argument of we got pent up buyer demand, all the same stuff. This argument was, well, if there's no new supply coming, rates come down, all these buyers surge the market, prices go through the roof. Makes sense. The problem is that rates have held high for so long that what's happened is all of these potential sellers have been trapped in these houses that they've wanted to trade up to. So I think that the concern that I'm starting to have, which is causing me to actually look at multifamily even more aggressively, is that we actually may have a supply problem that we don't know, that's kind of laying underneath the surface of sellers that if rates come down and they can now afford to trade up again, the supply may not come from new construction like it has historically.
You think it comes from pent up demand?
I think it comes from pent up interest, sales interest. Like all these sellers are gonna go, great, now I can finally upgrade the home. They throw all of these houses hit the market now that we weren't expecting to hit the market. It's not because of, like, everybody's like, oh, unemployment, it's not gonna be a foreclosure wave. I think that because we've stalemated the market for so long, we have maybe as many frustrated sellers as we have frustrated buyers. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
That's a great perspective and why you got to turn it sideways.
That's why I
was thinking about it that way. What about you?
Yeah, so we have a nice little niche that's kind of in some ways isolated from other areas of the market. But what we are seeing in the outdoor hospitality space is relatively small amounts of professionalized buyers, but there's an institutional interest that's starting to kick up. So there are some bigger groups, like Marriott just came in and bought Postcard Cabins. It's 1,400 tiny homes. A lot of these groups...
Postcard Cabins?
Yeah,
that's a pretty creative marketing name.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Let's look at that. Yep.
But yeah, so there's a bunch of these bigger groups that are starting to lean into outdoor hospitality. And it's because of we can speculate, it's because of the demographic shift of wanting to be more experiential focused.
Yep.
And people wanting to go back out to nature to have a unique experience. And if you're going to pay a few $100 a night to stay somewhere, well, if your option is a typical white box hotel down the street in an urban area that's not super exciting, but you can pay a similar amount to stay at a cabin on a ranch, or a cool vintage Airstream trailer that's on a hot spring, or something like that. It's a similar price, but a wildly different experience. And a lot of these these larger groups are starting to realize that that's the case. And that was kind of the basis of our thesis of why we started to get into this space was a big demographic shift that's pushing towards experience. And so when we buy a property, it's not just, the buy and hold and the traditional like facelift. It's how do we really lean into the experience side and give people, allow people to have that health and wellness, allow them to experience nature. Can we put in walking trails? Can we have a nice fire pit so they can sit out under the stars?
The value add, the real value adds the experience, leaning into that.
I have a question for you. This is for both you guys because you're both in the hospitality space. I'm curious because one of the big things with it's clear to me that Airbnb is getting squeezed, but it's not getting squeezed the way that everybody thinks it is and like it's just going away. It's that you can't just throw some janky house up on the market, cookie cutter thing and make because people are tired now of not getting the Marriott experience. I think it's fascinating that Marriott's coming into your space. How are you hedging yourself, or like what are you guys doing to like hedge the Airbnb squeeze, still be competitive against the Marriotts of the world, while potentially the Marriotts are going, no, we're going to come in and come after that market share?
Sure. Yeah, I'd look at it as different tiers. The highest tier, the 5-star luxury resort, we're not really competing with. There are some glamping type resorts that touch that, but that's not really the space. The core of outdoor hospitality is kind of that middle to upper middle market, at least for what we target. And you can have that elevated experience that is comparable to maybe a 3 or 4-star hotel. You can do similar amenities, you can do spas, you can do hot springs, you can have nice food and beverage on site. So we can compete in those realms. And I'd say we can even take it a step further because of the settings that you're in, and you have the space to really amenitize and to have nature incorporated in, to be out under the stars at night, to be walking on a dimly lit path that's, just nice crunchy gravel through the desert, or you're in the forest with the birds, and it's just a night and day different experience to what you'd see in a traditional hotel.
And I have maybe other people have this take, but I have a very different take. I use short-term rentals as leverage. And what I mean by that is, even the property we're sitting in right now, over the ranch you guys experienced, I kind of keep it simple, stupid, right? I'm like, I want bigger homes because I want to crush hotels on just basically daily rate for heads and beds. I mean, what a lot of people don't realize is how expensive it is to travel now. So, like we're in Bozeman, so I'll talk about that real quick. A hotel here in July is $600-700 a night, but it's not just $600-700 a night. If you got a family with 3 kids, that's 2 rooms. Plus you're eating out every meal. So you go to an Airbnb, when you start to add up the math, that's when I'm always like, you gotta have beds, heads and beds. Bedrooms are where you win. The second piece is, I think the dirt, every amenity is great. Every amenity is awesome, but I think the dirt is the most important thing. So what I do is I try to find luxury homes in areas that I can kind of buy and utilize as rentals as a hedge for another asset class for me. And then the third part there where I don't agree with this, and I'm on the outside. I'm very much controversial, if you will. But there are 2 thoughts I have on short-term rentals that I just don't agree with. One is this higher rate, lower occupancy to avoid potential damage. I have said on record, I will say it to anybody in the short-term rental space, that's the stupidest fucking advice I've ever heard in my life. No lender is going to be like, here's some extra debt or value or buyer for all that damage that you didn't hypothetically cause by having lower occupancy. That's stupid. Secondly, I don't like the idea of taking a large home and adding all of these amenities out of your own pocket or rehab, because at the end of the day, you still have an asset that is only worth what the dirt and the home is. So if we looked at a deal in Arizona that we walked away from because it was $2 million and it was gonna do about $450 top line of revenue. Pretty good. But you had to put in $700,000 for the pools and the amenities and the furnishing. By the time I looked at it, I went, so I'm buying a $2 million house, I'm gonna have to put in another $700,000. Well, it's now not suddenly a $3.5 million house. This isn't that kind of burr. These amenities aren't moving the dirt, the house. Putting in that pool isn't adding $800,000 in value.
Right.
So now I feel, again, I am prepared to be wrong, but in my opinion, and why we don't do it, I feel like I get more bang for the buck in other asset classes. And I almost feel like, to anybody listening to this, whenever you buy anything in real estate, the first question is, what are you paying for it? You make your money to buy. But the second thing that often gets overlooked is, who is your buyer? Who's taking you out? And I feel like when you're doing these niche luxury homes, your buyer is someone who wants to do the same exact thing. So now you just took your buyer pool and you just shrunk it down. So to bring that full circle, I try to get amazing homes that I'll upsell to a buyer pool if someone just wants to live in an amazing home. And I use the short-term rental market to pay for that asset. That's how I approach it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm curious, because apparently I'm the host of the show now. So
Question shifted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just went like I was getting interviewed. So go ahead, Michael.
that's
Does that
great.
make sense to answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does make
The
sense.
Michael Miller, bet on yourself.
Bet on yourself.
You gotta give more one of these, not this. That's like a, I feel like that's not you. That's not authentic.
I'm curious though, like, so as a multifamily guy, who's obviously that's your strategy, why are you buying Airbnbs?
Because I believe that really luxury, great locations in this country are on sale more than people realize.
Okay.
I don't think if you look at wealth historically and how real estate since like the dawn of man, dirt has been a valuable form of currency, and great dirt is only getting more and more expensive, and you're in a neighborhood with legacy owners and people that don't think in years, they think in decades. So I like access to like a market, like I'm always looking like a Nantucket, Massachusetts, a Kennebunkport, Maine, a Bozeman, Big Sky, Montana, Paradise Valley, Arizona. I want to be in those areas that also give me access where if all, I always poke, you are the host, because now I'm getting really, I don't get this deep, but maybe the people will like this. That's how my brain works. Why these guys hang out with me, it's scary. I always poke holes and what are the threats? Well, I think it's a low probability, but I'm not ignorant to a threat of nationwide rent control. I'm not ignorant to a threat of another COVID shutdown where there's no evictions and moratoriums. I like hedges. And this is still my asset class and my specific niche, but it gives me flexibility where I'm not just buying a bunch of C-class, dilapidated multifamily. I'm getting millions in equity on stuff that I think is disproportionately, I think there's still deals in those markets because the average buyer, like there's a lot of moving pieces. They can't finesse that. And that's why I kind of do that on the side.
Well, there's another piece of that though that I really connect with and admire you for is the lifestyle component.
Yeah.
And it's really easy anywhere in business to just solely focus on business. And I heard this phrase a long time ago, and it's always really stuck with me. It's like, are you dedicating your life to business or your business to creating the life that you want?
That's good.
And, something like multifamily, which is what I used to do, there's no real, you're not going to go stay at a multifamily building. It's probably not a super luxury place that you're going to live in yourself. So having the ability to use the skill of real estate to then do something that you can personally enjoy, that we can spend this amazing weekend on a mastermind, you can host things, you can have that pride of ownership. We found that really strongly in our resorts, but for you having these type of properties where you can go enjoy, you can share with friends and family, it's a nice twist on using the skill set that you have to be able to actually enjoy it and improve your lifestyle.
I think that's
so good.
I think it's a really important point as an investor. We say this to our coaching clients all the time, that everything with real estate, everything works if you work it. Like every strategy works if you learn to work it. But if your strategy doesn't fit your life's vision, you won't work it. We literally, all three of us probably, market to people who chose strategies that didn't fit with their life's vision. They're called tired landlords, right? Like we go after these people who went, I'm just gonna go for cash flow. I'm just gonna go for profit. And I think that's a really important point, because like, if you're passionate about building a travel lifestyle and luxury experiences, and you love hosting and all those things, you could become a gazillionaire building Airbnbs. I mean, look at this place. Like, you don't have to be a multifamily investor, but
you don't.
Right.
You don't.
But so many people go, well, I'm going to choose the path that I think will make me the most money. And they miss out on the fact of like, no, if it doesn't fit your life's vision, you won't work it. Here's a great example for me. I have an Airbnb that performs terribly. Why? Because I freaking hate running an Airbnb. Like, I should not be an Airbnb host.
So when's it going on the market?
Yeah, exactly. Well, so
he'll do Sellify and hold some paper.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem is because I bought it as a legacy property, and then I shoved a square peg in a round hole as an investor by going, instead of thinking, what's my genius that can afford me this property without it being an Airbnb? I went, I'm going to buy this property as an Airbnb so I can have it. And now my buddy who's got basically basically the same house on the same lake in the same place is doing twice as much revenue than me, and I'm frustrated. Instead of just going, no, I'm just going to do my genius.
And this is where sometimes I tell people all the time, like, it's so easy to get caught up in a spreadsheet and it's black and white. Like my Arizona house, we end up kicking in a couple bucks every month because for the 3 months, I could cost myself the experience and not live there for 3 months, right? And I'd rent it out and we'd cash flow, I don't know, $80K a year, whatever it is. But what I do is I go there for the winter because I hate being cold. My 3 rules of life are you have to be intentional, curious, and consistent.
And warm.
And warm. Warm would be good. But what I do though is now I use it just like this property. I use Arizona, and again, we're getting really deep. Danielle's probably gonna kill me, but we're getting really deep. Maybe people like it. And I host. So Zander was out the last winter. Mike hopefully will be out this winter. I mean, there was somebody there essentially every day. So now you're getting access to amazing people that level you up constantly. And what's my return on equity on that?
Right.
Because now I put these events on, I'm the center of the nucleus, I get these amazing experiences, and everywhere else in my life is leveling up. Plus, I've got a luxury home. That one, for example, we got a killer deal, $2.5 million. I believe in 10 years, that's probably a $4.5 to $6 million house.
Yep.
That 80% of that was paid down by tenants. Am I comfortable eating in the 20? Sure. On a spreadsheet, does that make sense? Absolutely not. But if that brings in a Micheal Miller and a Zander and we spend 3 days and that unlocks, $5, 10, 15, $20 million worth of net worth, like that's the people that are in the room you're in. And that's the intrinsic value that I think gets lost a lot of times. You can't really quantify. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Wow, we went a long time. That was amazing. Before we get out of here, Mike, where can people get a hold of you and learn a little bit more about you?
Just Instagram, social media.
What's the name on
Main Street Miller.
And he is fucking hilarious.
Classy.
If you're a liberal, you're gonna be offended, but just laugh.
That's
Don't
okay.
take it that serious, because this guy's
You're
got the best
probably not
memes.
watching this show.
That's
Also true.
a great point.
Also true. Zander, where can people get a hold of you?
I'm on social also, Zander Kempf, Zander with a Z. LinkedIn's our biggest, so
Yes.
follow me there.
Most impressive man on LinkedIn you will follow. I'm Michael Ketchen. He's Micheal Miller. He's Zander Kempf. And as always, bet on yourself.